Hello and welcome to Lesson 10 for Intermediate Programming with Scratch. And Lesson 10, that is going to be a lesson that I call the challenge lesson. And we're just going to be dealing with one sprite. You can see here the sprite you can't see in this layout, but it's just a little ant. But you can see here we've got a couple of lists. We've got an X position list and a Y position list. And then we've got a couple of counters. We've got an X counter, a Y counter, and a total counter. And I pre-populated these lists just like in our last few lessons. You've seen how we can pre-populate a list. And so that's what I did. And I pre-populated a Y grid here and an X grid. I want an ant that's going to go across and stamp itself all through the screen. And the Y I incremented so that I'd end up with 13 every 30, and then the X every 40. So you'll notice, remember the Y goes from 180 to 180 and X from 240 to 240. So I went minus 180 all the way to 180 with these 30 unit increments in the same way with X. And so that I created those two lists. And then I created these three counters. X, Y, and total counter, because I want to dynamically send my ant across the grid. And let's just see what he does. Let's hide first our X list, our Y list, and our three counters. And let's just see what he does. So let's go ahead and start. I start him with the space bar. You see my ant. He's going up and down, up across. Doot, 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 doot. There. He's officially populated the screen with this self. So let's see it again. Press the space bar. You see my ant. He's going through these lists. Now let's enable the list. And let's just see. We're going to enable the counters and the list. And then we'll kind of just focus on those. X and Y. Now if you notice, you can see when this list element is being executed here in our blocks, it kind of lights up. So what I'm doing is I'm going through each of the Y elements through X so that we're having one of each. And so that's how he's creating this little grid. But let's just see. See how it lights up? 2, 3. There we go. And these are my X, Y, and total counters. So let's kind of look at this little block and see what we've got here. So one of my space bars clicked. I'm clearing the screen 1, and then I'm setting all my counters to 1. And then I'm repeating. We could do length of X or length of Y here on this big repeat because they're both 13, right? We could even hard code that into 13 because he's just going to go through this 13 times. And what this length of X here in this repeat is it's going to grab it's going to kind of walk through the X's. And I'm going to kind of stretch this out so we can see just these blocks a little bit better. Okay. So there we go. We're just going to kind of focus on the blocks. And so we're doing a repeat here for the X's. And so you see I'm setting the total counter, and the Y counter. And then I'm incrementing, remember, doing the incrementing the Y value as it goes through the Y list. And then I'm doing it for Y. And then I'm going through the X counter for the X list. Right here. Let's see, X value. And the total count is in Y this time. So when we're going through X, see how we're incrementing it that way? And as we go through Y, length of Y, and they both happen to be 13, so we could hard code these in. But this is dynamics, so that way if this list would happen to grow for any reason or shrink, we're still okay. It's stamping itself, that's how it's populating the screen. And then here we're changing once all of these run, we're changing my total count by 1, since that's our big counter. And then we're resetting the X and Y back to 1. Okay, so So kind of tinker with that. It might not make a whole lot of sense. As you start to do this, it will though, okay? Or it should. It might. This is a very hard one. So let's just kind of think about it as we tinker with it. We want to get this ant to populate the screen. And so remember, I had to make my variables. I just did a total counter. I did an X counter, a Y counter. And then remember, if we have more than one variable, see how set total count. But since I have X count and Y count, now I can see those in here. And so that's how I would. So I had an X counter and a Y counter block. And the same thing here with our list. We've got our two lists. And here with the item 1 of X, 1 of Y. So that's how I brought in these and created these total counters and X and Y counters to create our own little reporter block. So let's kind of get a view of this one more time and see how it works. That's the script. That's the script. Tinker with these. Get things out of order and see what happens. In fact, we'll probably do that. Let's go through it once more like it's supposed to. I want to turn all my toggles off so we can actually see the ant, what he's doing here, and then we'll turn him back on here in a sec. There we go. See him populating the screen. He's doing a pretty good job of it. Doesn't take him long. But let's do this. Let's pull out one of these and just see what happens. Let's not go through Y. But let's still do that. Still want to do that. But let's not go through Y. I just pulled it out there, so I pulled it out. Now it's not going to execute when I click the plus. So he's just going up now. So it kind of does the same thing without the Y. He's just going up. You notice when we added the Y, he also went over. So let's do this. Let's pull out. Notice how I went up that time. Let's pull that out and put the Y in. What should he do? Well, let's see what he does. Now he's just going across, right? He's kind of doing the same thing. Before he was crisscrossing. He was going up, and then he was going across. So we want ours to go up and then across. And so let's tinker with that a little bit. Let's tinker with it and see if we can kind of get a grip on some of these. First, well, the way I would probably do it is let's first go through our X's, and then we'll go through our Y's. When you get done with this project, go ahead and upload it to Scratch. It doesn't have to be perfect. Tinker with it. Do something creative. If you don't like ants, do crickets. Do something that's going to populate the screen. Do get creative with it if you want. So upload it, and then get your Scriptastic link. Do your Scriptastic link in your blog like you've been doing, and share it. And if you don't get it perfectly right, that's okay. But we want to kind of experiment a little bit with these lists and with these little counters, variables.